and a very warm welcome to today's 1.1 session. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I would like to give you a brief introduction about these series of sessions that we have been holding every fortnight. During the pandemic, most of us were going through a difficult phase, and the creative team at one point came up with this initiative of sharing the benefits that we meditators at the one point team have experienced both in our personal and professional lives. And they came up with this idea of sharing this with our friends and clients and partners. And so, what we do in these sessions is we invite experienced meditators from all across the world who share their insights and thoughts on a particular topic, and then also lead us through a guided and short meditation. So, in these series of sessions, today we have Kim from Australia. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to meeting everyone today.
I would like to introduce Kim Cunio from Australia. He is a professor and he's the head of the School of Music at the Australian National University. He is a spiritually inclined activist, composer, and is interested in old and new music and role of music in making sense of our larger world. He is a scholar, composer, and performer. Kim writes for the Peak Body, the deans and directors of the creative arts at the Crawford Centre for Public Policy at the ANU. He also has a regular segment on the ABC Radio Canberra. Today, Kim is going to be speaking about working with the sacred arts to bring about inner and outer transformation. Over to you, Kim.
Thank you, dear Nikki, and I wanted to say a heartfelt hello to everyone. I want to thank each and every one of you for being with me and all of us when our lives are so busy. That's my first thought. But I would like to do something that's particular to the country I'm coming from, Australia, because we have a lot of work at the moment of reconciliation with our First Nations, the original inhabitants of Australia, the Aboriginal people. And I want to pay my respects to those people who've been on this country for many years caring for it. And to say that I would like to acknowledge anyone who comes from an old and beautiful tradition. And it is lovely to meet you and you're welcome here. So in the introduction, you might have thought, why am I going to spend time with a professor in music when I might have a busy job in something completely different? And that's a very good question. Now, for example, you might be a householder, so you have strong family commitments as a father or a mother or even a child, caring responsibilities. And you probably, if you're listening to this, have a job that is demanding. And sometimes in that job, things are not always easy. And then you might get home and things are not always easy at home. And then sometimes it can feel, particularly for these very important years of life between our 20s and our 60s, that all as we are doing is lurching from problem to problem, difficulty to difficulty. And suddenly we blink, 5 years have passed, and we are tired, and we have not really solved anything in a fundamental sense. Yes, we have made money, we might have paid off the house, we might have a mortgage, we might have taken a nice holiday, but that inner kernel of beauty is maybe not looked after as well as it could be. This is something I'm very concerned about. Why am I concerned? Because on one level, I'm quite a successful person. I'm fortunate that I'm a professor in, Australia's leading university. And here I get to work with some of the smartest people in the world. It's actually quite extraordinary. Our Vice Chancellor, Brian Schmidt, for example, has a Nobel Prize in astrophysics for looking at how the rate of expansion of the universe is actually different to what all the other scientists in the world thought. So that's my boss. So I'm around really smart people who are trying to work out how to make the world better, whether it's through social justice or ecology, studying global warming, finding ways to make the world more equitable, finding ways to actually understand the environment better. We can think of so many things, so many fields of study, from the hard sciences to the social sciences to the medical research. This is my day job. But I wanted to give you a confession. In my day job, I see the smartest people I think in the world. And many of them, not all, but many of them are actually quite unhappy at the deepest level. Isn't that sad? That we could be very, very accomplished in this world. So accomplished, so good at things. We can have a degree, a master's, maybe a PhD, a very fancy car. We can drive a nice car. On the outside, we look like we've made it. But possibly there's a little core of discontent inside. And that core of discontent is actually what I would say to us is possibly disconnection from the source, from that experience of who we might really be. Who am I really? Am I really this person with the PhD and the office and the cards and hopefully a nice car? Or am I a traveler going through life with experiences, looking to gain accumulations of wisdom, who can enjoy these experiences but not be tied to them? I would hope that all of us can see the latter as an easier way for a good life. That maybe I can, over time, find a way to think more holistically about who I am. So this is my first thought. Now I'm just going to actually go and give you, through the pace of my talk, a few tiny breaks where I just want us to reflect for a second in silence. So I'm going to do my first one now. It's going to be about 20 seconds. I want us to just be really aware of our body. And I'm going to hold up my hand. I would like you to take your pulse. So please take your one hand to the other hand, like I'm doing. It's a little bit hard to see, but basically you put your hand in here and you should be able to feel with your thumb your pulse. And I'm going to ask us just for a few seconds to concentrate on the miracle, the absolute miracle of our sacred lives. Dear friends, it's such an interesting thing just to take rest, to stop for 1 second. In the Brahma Kumaris, there's a phrase that I really love, sometimes called take just a minute. And funnily enough, there's research that shows, for example, in the Nordic countries, in many of the schooling situations, it's very common for children to have, even in the middle of winter, to have 5 minutes of every hour outdoors so that they can observe themselves in nature, in the beauty of nature, to start to recover from all the thinking that can affect our brains and our way of being. So I'm hoping, even in those 30 seconds, we had a little bit of a rest. And this takes me to what I'm really here to talk to you about. Because I have a little theory, and my theory is quite radical, that all of us have the capacity within a minute or two to connect deeply to the source of goodness. Imagine how good our life could be if, despite how busy I am, no matter how much suffering I have at work or at home, or desires, worry about money, worry about family, worry particularly about my kids if I have kids, despite all of that, that I might have a method, a methodology to connect deeply with what is. So that's what we're going to talk about through the sacred arts. Now, in order to do that, I need to ask this question that I've already asked. Who am I? Now, I quite like my body, friends. I'm in my 50s. I like exercise. I do physical yoga as well as meditation. I try and eat quite well. I have a vegetarian diet, and I like all of these things. And if I'm looking after myself, I get enough sleep. I feel pretty good during the day. But funnily enough, the body is a strange thing because whether I like it or not, my body is degrading every day, isn't it? By the time I'm in my 90s, I won't have the energy level I do now. I will not be able to sit still. I will certainly not be able to ride a bicycle or do yoga the same way. And so at some point, I have to think, am I really this body? I'm not sure. Maybe I am, but if I am, it means I am something which will wither and die. That's a really interesting thought. But Shakespeare had something to say on this. He said, "Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages." In other words, to say that really, even though we will die, maybe there's a part of us that need not have any fear. So if I'm not this body, what am I? Well, this is the radical bit. And this is the bit that I think hanging around with Brahma Kumaris has certainly been good for me, because it's enabled me to think about who I might really be. And the first teaching I remember many years ago when I went to a Brahma Kumari Centre, which to me made perfect sense, was, if I'm not this body, I might be the soul. And later on in our meditation, we're going to look at a beautiful picture of the soul, which is a way to remind us of something that is radically different. I'm using this term in a deliberate way, radically different, because the body is all about form and function and purpose and desire. You know, the Buddhists say we have craving and we have aversion. In other words, I like this. I quite like this sweet. I might have 10 of them and then I feel bad. So then I have aversion for it. Or I don't like this person. I will run away. We all have versions of this, don't we? But something amazing, if I'm not the body and I'm not thinking in this way, if I'm thinking in the soul, that possibly I am something that does not die and only lives. I am an eternal world traveler who picks up a body the same way that I could go and pick up a new car. I love that car. I drive it, I care for it, I clean it. I love taking it from place to place. But do I really weep when I leave that car? No. I say, it's time. This car has served me well. I love this car. Thank you very much. I've done everything I can to prolong its life. But now it is time to trade in this car for a new car. And then I am happy to go about my task again. I go to my appointments. I might occasionally think of my last car, but I'm not going to think about it all day and night. And this, friends, is to me the relationship between the body and the soul. The body, my friends, is the car. The soul is the driver of the car. I find this a beautiful thought. If I really am a soul, it actually means I have a purity to my nature, a fundamental purity, that I am actually good. I want to say that again, friends. I am actually good. I think this is a beautiful thing. So if I'm actually a good person, a good soul in this world, it means that my job with the soul is to keep traveling as best as I can and lead a wholesome and goodly life with this car. And then eventually, if I'm lucky, I'll get a beautiful, bright, shiny new one. So if you can bear with me for this idea, I'd like us to take 30 seconds of silence again and just imagine myself not as this body, but as a little indivisible point of the purest light shining out into space, radiant forever. What a radical, beautiful thought. Friends, let's take rest for 30 seconds. Welcome back. Maybe you heard the birds when we stopped. Isn't that the amazing thing? The Quakers have a term called bearing witness, where we bear witness to our inner world. In other words, rather than reacting to it, we just watch ourselves. And then we can also bear witness to the outer world. Again, not reacting, just observing and to see, how do I feel as a person in this world? So you might go, well, that all sounds well and good, Kim. What does this have to do with the sacred arts? Well, it's my job to tell you to make this connection, because I have another theory, which is at the end of this life and maybe the beginning of this life. Personally, I must disclose I believe in reincarnation. Now, that could be a big thing to think about. But maybe that's planting a seed for the future. But what I would like us to think about is at the end of our lives, would we really want to show a spreadsheet of our financial status? I don't think so. Because when we go to a funeral, what do we hear? We hear, if you were Indian, for example, you might hear beautiful mantras and chanting. People might be sad, but there might be a feeling of this release from the body. If you're from a Western tradition, it's so common that someone chooses their favorite piece of music. I've never been to a funeral where someone shows their share portfolio at their funeral. I've never done it. I've never seen it. But every time, it's like the person wants to leave the gift to their loved ones of the piece of art that has most moved them. And for me, I love all the arts. I find all the arts sacred. But there is something about music which I'd like to explain to you. The recent science, and I'm happy because I work with some incredible scientists here at the ANU. We have a project called Stargazing, where I look at the sounds of space and we set up telescopes all through the country and take people on this journey of looking at the beauty of the heavens and understanding them. But when we do that, I'm always thinking that the world is made up of vibration. And people will say, if you want to really understand the nature of the universe, you don't just look through your eyes. You use a radio telescope, don't you? An infrared telescope. So you're looking at this larger spectrum of vibration. And what we can see and what we can hear is only a small part of what is in the world. It's an amazing thought, isn't it? So if we have the feeling that the world is vibration, and one of the first great theorists of the world was Pythagoras, who believed very much that everything was sacred, that this notion was that the world, the universe had an inherent sound. He called it the music of the spheres, musica universalis, which is, to me, a very interesting idea. If the world, if the universe has a fundamental vibration, so do I. And if I can connect to that deep, more beautiful vibration, something incredible can happen to me. So this, my friends, is why the sacred arts. If we go into silence and listen to the music that inspires our soul, or look at the visual art, or the drama, or the dance, that is made from a sacred vibration, a sacred motivation, really. Something amazing can happen. It's like a window opens. And as the window opens, instead of gazing into a universe that is this big, it goes like this. Instead of a universe like this, it goes like this. And it's like our vision becomes greater. We see the whole of humanity with greater love because, put simply, the sacred experience of art relaxes the mind, allows us to process beyond our own selfish desires, our hurts, our feelings, and we can see ourselves as part of a greater world. Possibly even, as I tried to say before, maybe in not the best way, if I can believe I am not this body and I am a soul, I can look for a union with the source of all things, which we would call here the Supreme Soul. Of course, named God, Allah, Yahweh, Brahma, so many names for this. But it is worth thinking, no matter how secular your life, could there be a soul like me who has never taken a body, who is pure vibration? And could I, through listening to music or artistic practice of vibration, connect with that greatness? I think you can. I feel I can. Maybe it is a conceit of mine, but I feel it is possible. So friends, this is why I want to encourage all of us to listen to something beautiful, open our hearts, have some quiet time, and simply see what happens, and then go back to our daily business. Now, I'd like to take about 5 to 8 minutes of a meditation, and then I'm going to wrap up our session. It has been such a joy to talk with you today. So we're going to put on something that I've specially chosen for you because my day job, when I'm not at the university, is I love to compose sacred music, music that I think can soothe the soul and remind us who we are. And I have a project that is based in the UK, where I work with a group called the British Antarctic Survey and a wonderful artist called Diana Scarborough. So for this, we had a project called Aurora Musicalis, which is looking at the sounds of the universe that come through a giant antenna in Antarctica that takes electromagnetic waves and we transfer them into sound so we can listen to them. It's the ever-changing sound of our planet. Every time there is lightning or spheric or something changing in the Earth's magnetosphere, we get a new sound in this receiver. I find it personally very satisfying. So I've played the piano for you, and the piece is called The Symphony of the Harmony of Celestial Revelations. So as we put it on, I'm going to ask you to sit up. Let's look at this beautiful picture of the soul. Friends, soften our gaze. And as we soften our gaze, we forgive ourselves for all our little and big mistakes. Breathing in. Breathing. Breathing in peace. Breathing out love. Breathing in peace. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing. With our eyes on that point of light, just imagine that I have the power, like a superhero, to fly from this body up into the sky. I leave through the top of my forehead, and I fly out of the earth, out of my building, up to the earth's atmosphere. Right down, I can see the whole world below me. And now I'm into space, and I see ahead of me this beautiful point of light. I lay down, still looking at the light, and I feel love, deep love coming to me. All is well. All is forgiven. This world and I are just fine. For I am loved deeply by the great being that is the point of light. Breathing in peace. Be filled with peace. I deserve to be loved completely, fully by this great being of light. I am understood. I am healed. And as I look to this great point of light, I feel my own point of light growing inside me, in my forehead. I start to feel this point of light, this awareness of my sacred self growing. It's like my whole body becomes consumed with light. And I start to lighten from within. I forgive myself for my wrongs, for all can be forgiven. I look lovingly at my brother, my sister, my father, my mother, this great point of light. I am the lover and I am the beloved of you, my friend, the source of all. Breathing in love and breathing out. Breathing in love and breathing out. And for my last tiny time here, I set an intention. May this memory of love never be forgotten. May I be healed not just now, but forevermore in my life. And may, when things get bad, I remember my connection with you, knowing that I am always loved, connected, a part of something greater. One last deep, beautiful breath, breathing in, holding the breath, and breathing out a big exhale. One more, breathing in. Breathe in this feeling of energy and breathe out. And breathe normally. And in your time, open your eyes. Come back to our beautiful body that serves us so well. Thank you, body, for being with me, for allowing I, the soul, to journey through this amazing drama of life. Becoming aware of the fingers, the hands, the whole upper body, the head, chest, the back, down to the legs. We'll finish our session. I would like you to repeat just a little blessing. May I and all of us be happy and free. May I and all of us be happy and free. Dear friends, it's been such a joy to share this time with you. I wish all of you, as everyone does from the Brahma Kumaris, a lifetime of beauty, hope and purpose. Om Shanti.
You, Kim, for sharing your thoughts. And it's interesting. I am actually reading a book on self-talk, and the thoughts that you shared in meditation about I'm actually good and I deserve to be loved. I'm understood. So all of these are kind of affirmations that we need to keep telling ourselves every day with all the challenges and sometimes criticism and judgments that we face. It's just affirming for ourselves to remind ourselves of us innately and keeping that positive attitude throughout. So thank you for sharing and joining us today.
My pleasure, and dear friends, we really, all of us, Nikki and I and all the team here, we wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Kim. I would also like to thank everyone who have joined us today and who would be seeing the recording later on. We have all our sessions recorded, which are available on the 1.1ness YouTube channel. So you're welcome to take benefit and also invite your friends to go through the same. And also would like to thank our technical team for all their support. Stay light and be positive. Thank you.